it's that time. The time of the week where we all, well, specifically I, sit down and we read about lesbians for like an hour. I'm pretty sure we're basically at the end of Juliet's route. We're on her chapter 5, which is the last chapter. I was kind of thrown off last week by a little elf girl, but I think I know where the plot's going by now. So I don't believe we should be too far behind. Maybe like an hour or two. So I'll either finish this week or next week. I have no idea what we're gonna do after this. I've got a mountain of visual novels held up, but none of them are voiced, and just reading the narration already hurts my throat after a wee bit. So I have no idea.
Ooh, I needed that break. Back to it.
For real, where were we? Yeah, this is the... talks about, what's his face? Going in. Chat for a bit, vibing. We've already seen this scene. Because I already finished Aspen's route. After I finish my call with Minseo? Yeah, but after I finish my call with Minseo, I end up going for a walk. It's the best thing for me to clear my head when I'm overwhelmed by my emotions. I'm glad to know that Zhongyan was just the kind of person I always imagined them to be. Warm, loving, and always looking for the next adventure. Knowing that, I feel like I finally have some closure. Not that I ever doubted them, but it's good to hear from someone who knows for sure. As I pass through the Wellington streets, I can't help but think of the girl from the library. She reminds me too much of myself, scared and alone and struggling to get by. It's because we have so much in common that I know helping her will be difficult. The only reason I accepted Juliet's kindness was because she tracked me all the way to my den, and because I was confident enough in my ability to get away if things went wrong. Well, that turned out to be the best decision I ever made at the time. I was doubtful. I can't really blame the girl if she feels the same way. Passing by the Bell House, an idea strikes me. If I can't earn her trust with words, maybe something else. Maybe I can try something else. Sweets. I stop by another bakery and buy a slice of decent-looking chocolate cake. The person who cuts it for me places it in a fancy box with a ribbon on top. It cost me several hours' wages, so it better be good. With my bait in hand, I return to the library and wait until nightfall to put my plan into action. I fill Juliet in on the details and we agree that it would be better for her to stay upstairs, just so there's less chance of the girl catching on and getting spooked. We haven't had any more food go missing or move around today, so we're not even sure if she's around. I keep an eye out for the scruffy blanket or any other indicators, but I don't see anything out of the ordinary. Well, I won't be too disappointed if I end up having to eat the cake for myself. After finishing dinner, I take the slice out of the box and put it on a plastic plate. Then I put that back into the fridge. Then I go up to my room to wait. I watch TV for a while, but keep the volume low and rest my eyes without actually falling asleep. I keep my door open just a tiny bit, but not enough that it'd be obvious from downstairs. Finally, around midnight, I hear noise from below. I crawl out of my room and down to the kitchen, where a tiny bit of light is emanating from the fridge. Sure enough, it's the girl again. This time she doesn't even bother taking her prize back to the shelves, or even turning invisible. She stands in the plain light with the plate in one hand. She devours the cake, not even bothering to use a fork. Instead, she just uses her fingers, tearing off one bite at a time. Her face and hands are covered in chocolate and frosting. She's so distracted that she doesn't even notice me approaching, although I make sure not to block her off from the front door so she doesn't feel trapped.
Hey.
Her reaction is the same as yesterday. Bug-eyed, she drops the plate and what's left of the cake as she hops backwards, before realizing she's just put herself further away from the exit. I stay still, other than holding up my hands to show her that I don't mean any harm.
It's okay. You're not in any trouble. I bought that cake for you.
try to keep my voice calm and low, as close to how Juliet usually talks as I can manage. The girl whips her head back and forth, probably looking for anyone else who might be hiding from her, as she angles herself towards the door. She doesn't turn invisible, at least.
I won't try to stop you if you want to leave, but I was hoping I could talk to you.
The girl stares at me mistrustfully from the other side of the room. I wonder if she can even understand me. Lowering my hands to my side, I maintain my distance, trying to look as not scary as possible.
I'm gonna turn on the lights, okay?
No response. I say to just go for it and flip them on. Although she blinks at the sudden brightness, it doesn't make her run any further.
You were hiding out in the library, right? And sleeping on the floor?
More staring. I know she doesn't have her blanket with her.
It's okay. I'm not mad. Neither is Juliet, the other person who lives here. Maybe you've seen her around.
At last, the girl gives a slow nod, taking this as a good sign. I put on my friendliest smile.
I did the same thing before. I was hiding behind some of the shelves and Juliet found me. I thought she was gonna kick me out, but she was actually really nice. She let me stay in one of her extra beds and even gave me some food too. I bet you're so hungry, right? Even after the cake?
Another reluctant nod. She hasn't moved at all since I started talking.
I can make you a sandwich or something if you want. That's what Juliet made for me. Do you want one?
This time she doesn't respond, just stares at me from afar.
You don't have to if you don't want it. We just want to help you out, since it seemed like you might be in trouble.
Finally, the girl points at me.
Ain't you a wolf?
Oh, she's adorable.
Am I... Huh? Your ears. Wolves eat little girls.
It takes me a second to process what she said. At least she can talk.
Oh, no. I'm not a wolf. I'm a fox. Look.
I hold my arms out and transform, shifting into a fox. The girl's eyes go wide again, even bigger than when she was running. I turn in a small circle to show her, fluffing at my tails, but I don't get any closer. Then I change back.
See? I've never eaten someone. Promise.
The girl watches me, trying to decide if she believes me or not. Even though she's so young, I can imagine what she must be thinking, feeling right now, trying to weigh out the dangers of sticking around versus just getting out while she can. I couldn't really blame her if she decided not to trust me. Even though, I'm being honest, there's no way she can know that for sure. It's a dangerous world out there.
I can change too. Watch.
Taking a deep breath, she puffs out her cheeks, then disappears from sight.
Whoa. That's really cool. Bet it comes in handy a lot, huh?
She reappears a few steps away from where she was standing. She nods.
Before I started living here, I had to steal all my meals too. I would have loved to be able to turn invisible like you can.
She nods again. I can see her relax a little bit, slouching her shoulders. Although I'm sure she'd still take off if I made one false move. I decide to keep going and stop if she seems like she's getting uncomfortable.
Anyway, my name's Miho. What's yours? Lyra. Lyra? That's a nice name.
God, she's cute.
Do you want me to make you that sandwich?
Sheepy. Swallowing, she licks her lips.
You can come with me. Or I can bring it to you out here. Why? Why what? Why are you being nice to me?
Looking at her face, I can see the conflicting emotions. A desire to say yes while also being uncertain. I probably asked Juliet that same question back then.
Because someone was nice to me once. More than once, actually. They helped me out when they didn't have to. Even after I stole from one of them. I'll bet you were only stealing food and hiding because you have to, right? I know how that feels. That's why I won't stop you if you want to go too.
Whatever risks she's calculating, she finally arrives at the same decision I did back then.
Okay. I want it. Okay. Is the same kind as last night fine? Yeah.
Opening the fridge, I take out the jar of mayonnaise, some slices of cheese, a tomato, and enough bread for 2 sandwiches. After a bit of thought, I take out a slice of salami too. I cut up the tomato best I can, though the slices aren't as even or as pretty as when Juliet does it. When I lay out the bread on 2 plates, then I lay out the bread on 2 plates, spreading a layer of mayo onto a couple slices.
That's too much. Huh?
I turn around to see the girl watching me from the entrance to the kitchen, hands on her hips.
I don't want that much mayonnaise. Oh. Okay.
Really, she doesn't have any problems with saying what she wants. I use the flat edge of the knife to scrape off some of the spread from one of the sandwiches, then layer the cheese and tomato on top. After cutting them both in half, I walk towards Lyra to give her her plate without thinking. When she tenses up, I freeze mid-step.
Here you go.
I lean forward and stretch my arm out, handing it to her from as far away as I can. She cautiously takes it, backs up a few steps as soon as it's in her hands. We both eat our sandwiches in silence, watching each other from opposite sides of the kitchen. She finishes her whole snack, and the time it takes me to eat just half of mine, smacking her lips loudly as she chews. When she's done, I hold out my hand for her plates, and she cautiously gives it to me. I put both the dirty dishes into the sink.
Now what? Now, that's a good question.
I had no idea how much of this whole thing would. I had no idea how this whole thing would go, so I didn't plan it out too much. This is possibly the point where I should enlist some backup.
Is it okay if I go get my girlfriend? She's the one who owns this place. She'll definitely want to talk to you too. The vampire lady? That's her. Okay.
She gives me a wide berth as I leave the kitchen, even though it requires putting herself further away from the front door.
You can sit down if you want. Wherever's most comfy for you. I'll be right back.
I head up to Juliet's study where the door swings open as I approach. She's waiting for me on the other side. I step through and she closes the door behind me. I'm not sure if pointy ears helps Lyra to hear better, just in case I keep my voice low.
The girl and I have been talking for a bit. Her name's Lyra. She says she's okay if you come down too now.
The vampire lady heard. You handled that marvelously, dear.
Thanks. I just tried to think about what you would say for the most part. It helps that I know how she probably feels right now.
I'm sure your sincerity helped a lot. For what it's worth, I don't think I could have done any better.
Oh, I don't know about that. You're a lot better with words than me.
Words aren't as important as intentions. And I'm sure she could tell that yours were good.
What do you think we should do now? I didn't ask, but I'm not sure if she has anywhere else to go.
Let's go downstairs and talk to her. I have an idea for tonight, at least.
Don't act like this is gonna end any other way than Juliet adopting her. I already know her arc's gonna. Now that she's fully let go of what's her face? Coming in a second. What's her daughter's name? Hold on, I'm drawing a blank. It'll come to me in a second. Cosette. Her name was Cosette. Now that she's fully gotten over and sort of let go of Cosette, the only natural evolution of her arc is going to be letting someone new into her life. Like this little baby. Look at her. I love her. She's so cute. I follow Juliet back to the kitchen, where Lyra's taken a seat at the dining table. She tenses up as we approach, but Juliet also keeps a respectful distance.
Good evening, Lyra. My name is Juliet. It's nice to meet you. Miho told me the two of you spoke for a while. Would it be okay with you if we sat down as well?
Eyes flicker from me to Juliet and back again. Lyra eventually nods. Juliet and I pull out chairs as well and sit next to each other, on the other side of the table from the kid.
Would you mind if I asked you a couple of questions? You don't have to answer anything you don't want to.
Okay.
Thank you. Would I be correct in assuming that you've spent a few nights sleeping in the library?
Yeah. I had a blanket, but it's lost now.
I see. If I may ask, does your family know where you are?
Ain't got one.
You don't have a family? Is there anyone that you live with? Or who takes care of you?
Nah, I'm by myself.
Poor baby.
Is there somewhere that you live? Or usually stay at?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Does that mean you did until recently?
Yeah.
The girl isn't exactly forthcoming with information, but Juliet takes it all in stride, maintaining that calm, even tone that I was aiming for.
May I ask what happened?
Lara looks down at the ground, bringing her thumb up to her mouth and biting her nails. Now that it's not a yes or no question she's being asked, she seems less inclined to answer.
You don't have to tell me. But if there's someone out there who may be worried about you, then wouldn't it be nice for them to know that you're safe?
There ain't. I left.
As in, you ran away?
Yeah. They were bad. Mean. They hurt me. So I left.
Your family?
No. My parents died. They were people who said they'd take care of me, so I had to live with them. Nobody asked me. But they didn't care about me. They told me that.
Poor baby. Juliet and I exchange a look. Lara says all these things so matter-of-factly, still looking at the ground.
I'm so sorry to hear that. Both about your parents and the awful situation you were put in. I'm very glad you were able to get away.
Really? You believe me?
For the first time, there's a flash of excitement from the girl. It's impossible to know if she's telling the truth, but we don't have any reason to doubt her. At the very least, it would make sense why she's so skittish.
I don't see why I shouldn't.
I tried telling people, but they didn't listen. Said I was making it up, but I'm not.
For the first time since I started talking to Lyra, she raises her voice, emphatically. Her fists are clenched and she looks at both of us like she's trying to see if we mean what we say.
I've met plenty of mean people too. I know how awful they can be.
Her sharp glare slowly dissolves as two big tears well up in the corners of her eyes. Her lower lip quivers.
Nobody ever believes me.
There. You're safe now.
Give her a
We
hug.
believe you.
Hug the baby. I started to start crying, but Lyra manages to keep it together. She wipes away the tears, then goes back to glaring.
I won't go back there. No one can make me, so don't even try.
We wouldn't dream of it. Can you tell me if you came from around here, though?
I got on a bus and rode for a long time. I knew this was a big city, so I came here.
I see. I know that neither Miho nor I want to make you go back somewhere you were hurt. But do anything you don't want to. We also don't want you to have to worry about finding somewhere safe to spend the night. Or finding food. If you'd like, there's an extra bed here that you can use, so you don't have to sleep on the floor. Tomorrow, we can talk more. Would you like that?
Lyra sniffles a few times and blows her nose, kicking her feet while she thinks about it. Eventually she nods.
Okay. I guess that's fine.
Perfect. I'm glad to hear it. I imagine you must be very tired already. Would you like to go to bed?
Yeah, I'm sleepy.
Why don't you follow me then?
Juliet exits the kitchen, and after watching her for a bit, Lyra follows after. I make my way up behind them as Juliet passes by her study and down the hallway. I realize her intentions right as she stops outside one of the doors that I'd never seen open. Juliet retrieves a key from one of her pockets and uses it to unlock the door, which swings open with a creak. It reveals a bedroom. A well-made bed with green covers sits in the corner. It has a desk and dresser with a mirror. A shelf of books leans against one wall, across from a window with the curtains over it. Thirst permeates the room, which must have been untouched for years. Juliet goes and fetches some rags to wipe everything down, and deftly changes the pillowcase and sheets while Lyra and I stand nearby. I'd offer to help, but I think she'd be faster with it. When the room is ready, she faces Lyra with a smile.
Here you are. Do you need extra pillows or blankets?
Lyra shakes her head, eyes fixed on the bed rather than on Juliet. She walks towards it like a zombie. I wonder how long it's been since she slept somewhere comfortable.
Miho and I will bid you good night then, and see you in the morning. Would you like me to leave the door open?
She nods as she climbs into the bed, poking the pillows as if to check to see if they're real. She doesn't pay us any more attention as we leave the room, already halfway asleep by the looks of it. The two of us go back to my room, standing in the doorway.
Well, this has turned out to be a much more eventful day than I expected.
Yeah, me too. I figured she had just run away from home or was playing a prank or something. I wasn't expecting her to have had such a rough life already.
Indeed. I felt my heart break at her words, sparing as they were.
She never could resist helping out someone who needs it, huh?
It's true. So far, those have been some of the best decisions of my life.
Julia leans in and kisses me. As we wrap our arms around each other, I know we're both thinking the same thing. There's going to be a lot to talk about tomorrow. When we part, Juliet puts her forehead against mine.
Shall we resume this in the morning then?
Yeah, sounds good. This part too.
I give her a quick follow-up kiss for good measure.
I'll be looking forward to it. Good night, Miho.
Night.
This game's so cute. Oh, my heart. For God's sake. I hop into my own bed and close my eyes, waiting for sleep to take me. When I wake up, the first thing I do is tiptoe down the hallway and poke my head into the room where Lyra is staying. Tucked beneath all the blankets, I can see a splotch of blonde hair against one of the pillows. She's still fast asleep. I wouldn't be surprised to find she'd left in the middle of the night. Being careful not to disturb her, I go downstairs to the kitchen where Juliet is sitting at the table.
Good morning.
Good morning. Our guest is still sleeping.
Yeah, I saw. Out like a light.
Thought I would wait for her to get up before starting on breakfast, if that's alright with you?
Fine by me. Have you been awake since we went to bed?
I dozed a little here and there. I've been using my free time to catch up on some reading. Last night was so busy, though, that I didn't get the chance to ask how your call with Minso went.
Oh, right.
Somehow even that was overshadowed by meeting Lyra and everything that went along with that.
It went really well. She told me all about Jungin. They were a traveler who went all around the world. They came for Korea.
So the two of you have something in common, then?
Yeah! Apparently they gave away lots of scrolls like mine. She also said that they started using a pen name later. Horim. It means fox forest.
Oh, that's beautiful. So that must mean that...
I nod.
Yeah. They remembered me too.
Adorable.
I'm so happy for you, Miho. That you got to know how special you were to each other.
Me too. Thanks for setting everything up. I told her about my magic, and so we're gonna keep in touch too. Maybe someday we could even meet up in person. She said she has family members who know a lot more about Jungin than she does.
A trip to America sounds nice. Or would it be back to Korea?
I'm not sure. I didn't ask. Would you go with me if I went, though?
Of course. There are so many places I'd love to visit with you.
Aww.
Me too. The other night when we were...
There's a sudden knock at the front door that cuts me off. It's still a little earlier than before we would open the library, but we never had patrons show up before then. If it was Aspen, she'd just walk right in. My first thought is it might be someone looking for Lyra.
I'll get it.
Feeling apprehensive for some reason, I slowly make my way towards the door. I wouldn't be surprised if someone was looking for her, despite what she told us. I'm not sure how they'd have tracked her here, though. They knock again louder. Whoever it is sure is impatient. I walk faster.
I'm coming!
Pull open the door, which isn't even locked. When I see who's waiting, I can feel my eyes go wide.
Silver?
Holy shit, it's our girl! Oh, she's adorable! Oh, she looks so cute. Other Gumiho standing close, shifting her weight from foot to foot. The moment I open the door all the way, she darts in before I can even invite her inside.
What are you doing here?
It's all I can think to blurt out while I was sure I'd see her again at some point. I expected it to be at night like usual. This is the second time I've seen her out during the day. Taking her typical approach of ignoring me, Silver just looks around, similar to the last time she came here. Finally, her restless gaze settles on me.
I came to fulfill a promise.
Promise?
As I speak my last words to her, and Halloween came back to me, and understand all at once.
Oh, you're leaving.
She nods just then. Juliet emerges from the kitchen. Silver tenses up when she sees her, but relaxes. I'm reminded of Lyra yesterday.
Ah, Silver. It's very nice to see you again.
Silver stays silent. We're not exactly the most talkative group.
We were gonna have breakfast soon, if you wanted to.
As I trail off, one more person enters my field of vision. Upstairs, I can just barely see Lyra over the handrail as she reaches the stairs, sleepily stumbling down them with a blanket in one hand. At the bottom, she stops and rubs her eyes, staring at Silver and me. Between the four of us, I'm not sure who must be most surprised to see him.
You ain't a wolf, are you?
No. Are you?
At least Lyra gets an answer. Apparently deciding she's not in danger of being eaten, Lyra goes into the kitchen with a small shrug. Juliet goes with her. I almost tap Silver on the shoulder, but catch myself and clear my throat to get her attention instead.
Wanna go talk outside?
She nods, and so I lead the way out. Even without her shawl, Silver looks out of place in the sunlight. She belongs in the woods under the moon.
Who is the child?
Her name's Lyra. She was hiding out in the library and stealing food. So we told her she could sleep in one of the spare beds. The three of us were gonna have breakfast soon. You can join us if you want.
I already know her answer before she even shakes her head.
No. I simply came to keep my word. You have a strange choice of hobby when it comes to taking care of others.
Is that weird?
To me, helping out Lyra seems like the obvious thing to do. I didn't even feel like a choice. I was just making. Just something that needed to be done. But half a year ago, I probably would have felt the same way Silver does.
I guess it is something I've gotten used to.
How very like you.
Is that a good thing?
Silver thinks about it for a bit.
It's not a bad thing.
I'll take it.
Coming from her, that's about the best I can hope for. Silver glances at me, then suddenly reaches for my throat. Instead of trying to strangle me, which is the first thought that crosses my mind, she grabs my necklace and inspects my bead. For someone who hates being touched, she apparently doesn't seem to have any problem when it comes to my personal space. Still, I tilt my chin up, trying to let her see it. Silver's eyes narrow, and after a bit she lets go. As it falls back into place, I instinctively put a hand around my necklace.
So, it's almost your time.
Yeah. Although, I don't really know what to expect when I'm ready.
What do you mean?
When I swallow it, sometimes, if I focus, it makes me think about the clouds or the trees. But I don't know what any of it means. What being a Chono means. I barely know about being a Gumiho.
Silver laughs.
You still haven't figured it out.
I just told you I haven't. How do you know all this stuff anyway?
It's simple. I don't doubt myself.
Would it kill you to just give me a straight answer sometimes?
I love these two.
In this case, it's the only answer I can give you. Besides, you're closer to the truth than I am.
Silver holds her arm up, putting her shining bead into full view. For the first time, she holds it where I can see it properly. And though my bead is plain and round, nearly identical to the non-magical ones on my necklace, hers narrows in the middle and then widens again like an hourglass. A few colourful bands run across it, almost too narrow to see. There's a red one, a blue one, even a silver one. When I squint, I can even see a faint spring green one as well. There are others, but I can't see what they are before she lets her sleeve fall again, hiding the bracelet.
It's why I'll be leaving tomorrow. Just as your path has led you here, mine now leads me away.
Tomorrow? I figured you were gonna be going soon, but not that soon.
There's nothing left for me here. It's time I was on my way again.
Oh.
It's kind of sad that there's no ending where Silver stays. I guess that kind of makes sense for her arc, but I wanted to get to see her more. You know? For as long as I've known her, I've hoped I could get through to Silver somehow. Help her see some of the things I was blind to myself. Especially now as we're just starting to become friends, or maybe now that we've been friends for a while. Either way, I wish she would stay. But just like when Juliet was contemplating leaving, I can also understand why she feels like she has to go. And unlike Juliet, there really isn't anything else tying her down to Wellington.
Perhaps we'll meet again someday.
Her tone is unusually gentle. I wonder if she'll miss me too.
The sky is vast, and the road is long. Our paths might cross again.
Griffith, you are both immortal.
I hope so. Let me come with you tomorrow. To see you off. Please.
She closes her eyes, thinking.
Fine. I'll fetch you in the morning. Early. Be ready.
I will.
Silver takes a step down, signaling an end to our conversation. Before she leaves, there's one more thing I want to know.
Wait.
Yes.
The girl you just saw in there. Lyra. What color was she?
Silver's lips curl into a wry smile.
As hopeful a blue as I've ever seen.
Oh. Almost before she finishes talking, Silver transforms. Her first sparkles in the sun, looking less out of place in her clothes. Without looking back, she runs away and is quickly out of sight. I watch her go before heading inside the library again myself. In the kitchen, Juliet's working on breakfast while Lyra watches from close by. When I enter the room, the kid folds her arms.
Who is that? A friend of mine. Her name is Silver. At least, that's what I call her. She's scary. Scarier than you. She'd probably be glad to hear you say that.
I try to picture Lyra how Silver must have seen her. Beneath her almost permanent glare and short sentences, she's hopeful. Juliet and I may be the ones doing her a favor, but she's giving us a chance to.
It turns out she's going to be leaving tomorrow. To go where? Is she gonna come back here? I don't know. I'm not sure she knows yet either.
Wherever she goes, I hope she finds contentment there.
Yeah, me too. What's contentment?
Contentment means when you feel at peace. Like you don't have to worry about anything.
Oh, I haven't heard that word before.
Thinking on that, Lyra sits down at the table to wait for breakfast to be ready. We go ahead and prepare the dishes, setting up 3 plates. It isn't long before Juliet comes over to serve us our meal, with Lyra's portion being just as big as hers.
Here we are. Do you like anything to go with it, Lyra? Ketchup or more salt and pepper?
She shakes her head, shoveling a fork full of egg into her mouth. I don't think she's going to be a very picky eater. I mentioned to complain about mayonnaise earlier. The three of us clear our plates, and once everything is cleaned up, I can see Lyra beginning to look around anxiously.
What's wrong?
Nothing.
I might have a guess. Lyra, do you have anything you plan to do today?
Lyra shakes her head.
Well, you're welcome to remain here at the library. Miho will be busy with work, and I'll be going to sleep soon. But you don't have to leave.
I don't? Even though I stole your food?
No, of course not.
That seems to be a regular occurrence for Juliet at this point. Although Juliet says that, I know that at some point she and I are going to have to decide what exactly Lyra's staying here will entail, and for how long. Neither of us are going to turn her onto the streets, of course, but if she just stays here, then does that mean she'll live with... If she just stays here, does that mean she'll live here? What does that make her? What does that make us? It's still only the first morning, so there's plenty of time to figure things out, but from what Lyra told us last night, she doesn't really have any other options. Juliet's probably thinking about the same.
Hey Lyra, do you like to watch TV?
Sometimes. I like cartoons, but I couldn't watch them much.
I have a TV up in my room if you want to use it. You can watch all the cartoons you want.
Her eyes got huge. Her eyes get huge, looking more excited than she was than when she was offered a place to stay.
Really? Is that allowed?
Oh, baby.
Yeah, come here. I'll show you.
All three of us head to my room and turn on the TV, flipping to one of the kids' channels, I remember. Within minutes, she's all set up on my bed, totally sucked into the show. Juliet and I step out into the hall.
We should probably talk later, huh?
Yes, once I've had a chance to rest and refresh myself.
You've been up since everything started. I'll bet you're as exhausted as she was.
Perhaps a little. Will you be alright for the day? If you have other things to attend to, I'm sure she'll be fine here. I don't think she'll be leaving that spot.
Both glance into my room. Lyra's wrapped a blanket around herself, still entranced by the TV.
We'll see. You should go rest, though. We can figure it out more tonight.
Alright. Until then, my love.
Aww.
Sleep well.
This game is so cute, man. I swear to God. With a hug and a kiss, Juliet leaves for bed, and I go downstairs to try and have as normal a day as possible. In the evening, after the library is already closed, there's a knock at the door while I'm downstairs. It sounds urgent.
Come in!
Ah shit, this is thing me. I've already played for this. Gerby's floating away.
Wait, is that?
Let's play for the last bit of this, because it gets every time.
Gerby?
The two of them look right at the little fables as Tommy realizes. The expression also changes to shock.
Can you see him?
Stunned, both his parents nod. Gerby waves his little flower arms, looking thrilled to finally be noticed.
Well, I'll be. The little guy looks just like I imagined.
Something's wrong with Gerby. If I let go of him, he starts to blow away in the wind. I don't know what happened to him.
Is that why you ran out?
Yeah, I had to catch him.
With a small smile, Elijah steps forward and pats his son on the head.
I heard something kind of interesting, actually. I asked a lot of people from work if they'd ever heard of a fable like Gerby. And it turns out one of them had. He said that when he was young, he had a friend just like Gerby, his only friend. They kept him company when his parents were fighting, or when anything else that was bad was happening. Then, once he got older and things weren't as tough anymore, he said his friend had to leave him one day in order to go to help out the next kid who needed someone. He told me that fables like Gerby stick around until they know that their friends will be okay without them. And then it's time for them to go. Sounds like maybe this is that time for Gerby.
But I don't want him to go. I want him to stay.
Baby. God. Don't be sad. Tommy can't keep himself from crying anymore. Although he holds onto Gerby, big tears roll down his face. In his arms, Gerby looks up at him kindly.
Sweetie, sometimes we don't have a choice. Sometimes we have to let things go, even if it's hard. From what Dad said, it sounds like Gerby knows you're tough and that you'll be okay, right? Don't you trust Gerby?
I do, but
Tommy holds out his arms so he can face his friend properly.
is it true? Do you really have to leave?
Gerby's petals sag as he nods, patting Tommy's hand. Gwen wipes Tommy's eyes for him as Tommy pulls Gerby into a hug. His tears drip down into Gerby's leaves like rain.
There's someone else who needs you, right?
So close to Tommy, Gerby nods again.
Okay.
Gwen and Elijah move to either side of Tommy and I step away, keeping a respectful distance. Doesn't really involve me after all. Gwen kneels down in front of Tommy, smiling.
Thank you, Gerby, for being there for Tommy.
Yeah. Thanks, Gerby.
Finally, it's Tommy's turn.
Thank you, Gerby, for being my friend. I'll miss you.
With a big sniff, Tommy manages to stop crying. Gerby leans against Tommy, the top of his flower tickling Tommy's chin. Tommy giggles. Then he opens his arms. Each of his parents take one of Tommy's hands as Gerby floats there for a second, then slowly starts to rise. With his tiny little petals, Gerby waves goodbye, eyes twinkled in a smile. The breeze shakes his leaves, but doesn't knock him off his course. Up, up, up he goes, reaching Tommy's eye level, then Elijah's, and floating above their heads. From behind them I can see Tommy squeeze his parents' hands tightly.
Bye, Gerby.
After a final whisper of farewell, Gerby continues to drift up until he's eventually out of sight. Tom, Gwen, and Elijah remain there, stood in the shallow water. Quietly I sneak away, leaving the three of them on their own. I'm sure I'll hear about it later when we have a regular call, but for now I think they have a few things they probably want to talk about together. God's sake, that scene gets me every fucking time, man. So then we went back to the library. I smile, glad that things worked out. It may take some time, but I know they'll be alright in the end. After all, I trust Gerby too. Back to the baby. There's many babies in this game. This game is full of adorable babies. This is the baby, and the other and Cello and her friends are the baby squad. After the library is closed for the evening, I'm in the middle of cleaning up. Lyra finally comes downstairs, just like this morning. She dragged a blanket behind her. Only this time, it's mine.
I'm hungry. Alright, you can have anything in the fridge. Or I can make you a sandwich in a bit. Okay, I'll go look.
She wanders into the kitchen alone, and I can hear her rifling through the fridge. Giving someone permission to do things is a new experience for me. A single day at the library has already made her a lot more comfortable. I guess she'd never had a problem with taking food though. She spent most of the day watching TV in my room, and also chose a couple books in the kids section to read. Because she's so quiet and keeps to herself, I could almost forget she's even around. Peeking into the kitchen to check on her, Lyra's sitting at the table with a book open in front of her and a bowl of cereal beside it. Yeah, she fits in just fine here. Leaving her to her snack, I go upstairs and find Juliet in her office.
Ah, Miho. I was just about to join you downstairs. How's our guest?
Eating in the kitchen. She seems right at home.
She does, doesn't she?
It's kinda hard to place Juliet's tone, amused with a touch of sadness.
I figured me and you should talk about things before it gets too late again.
Yes, that's a good idea. Would you like to sit down?
We took our usual positions around her desk.
I looked online, but I haven't seen any missing person reports or other indications that someone's searching for her. Usually, if a child were to disappear, it would be all over the news. But in this case,
There's nobody looking.
as far as I can tell, yes. which would line up with what she told us about running away.
That's so sad. She's just a little kid. There should be somebody who cares about her.
I fully agree. She mentioned that her parents passed away. Perhaps she has other family out there that we could locate. It's difficult with so little information to go by.
Right. Wouldn't they have taken her in when her parents died, though?
There's that as well.
Maybe we should just ask her.
Yes, perhaps. Although I suspect she would have told us already if so.
That's true.
Well, for the time being, it's no bother having her here. There's more than enough space.
Right. The room that she's in now, though. It was Cosette's, wasn't it?
See? Look, boom, character development. Love that for her.
It was indeed. I've left it untouched for many years now. But it's the only other room with a bed, so it was only natural to offer it to Lyra.
She's got a new baby now. Reach across the table to take Juliet's hand.
Yeah. I think it was the right thing to do.
We haven't talked about Cosette much since that night at her grave. Still, I know she's on Juliet's mind all the time. I'm sure that just unlocking the door and letting Lyra in was more difficult than she lets on. Even if it was the logical choice, I hope it's also a good sign that she did it in the end. See? Look at this shit. Poetry. Love this game. The sadness in Juliet's eyes as she smiles at me is the only confirmation that I'm right. I don't blame her at all, though. Despite everything we've talked about, it'll take her time to heal. It'll take her a long time to heal.
Something Silver told me this morning was that Lyra seemed hopeful. She's really good at reading people, so I believe her.
I'm glad to hear that. Can't be easy to be in her position.
Nodding, I stand up, intending to go downstairs and reassure Lyra that she can stay here again tonight. However, I only manage to take 2 steps before I bump into something soft and invisible. Lyra pops into vision and she stumbles backwards, and I barely manage to grab her shoulder to keep her from falling. Juliet makes a sound of surprise at her sudden appearance. Ducking away from my hand, Juliet turns and runs.
Hey, it's okay if you were listening. You're not in trouble.
Just outside the study, she skips to a stop, looking back at mistrustfully.
I'm not? I always got yelled at for eavesdropping.
Eavesdropping.
No, child. I can't fault you for listening in when you're being talked about.
Juliet stands by my side, with neither of us moving closer to Lyra. She may have gotten more confident around the library, but it's a different story with Juliet and me as people.
I'd do the same thing if I could turn invisible like you. I've eavesdropped, even when all I can do is hide.
How much were you able to hear?
Lyra shrugs.
Who's Cosette?
Beside me, I can feel Juliet tense up and take a deep breath.
My daughter. That room you're staying in used to belong to her.
Oh. Is she dead?
That's blunt. Lyra asks the question as casually as if she's asking about the weather. She hasn't exactly been polite since her arrival, but it's a bit blunt even for her.
Hey, maybe...
Juliet holds up a hand to cut me off.
Yes, she is.
Oh.
Lyra processes this new information as stoically as ever. Her ever-present frown deepens just a bit.
Are you gonna kick me out after all?
Juliet and I exchange a wide-eyed look. I can't blame her for worrying about that.
Oh, heavens, no! Although we were wondering if you had any other family out there who might be missing you. Brothers or sisters of your parents, perhaps? Or grandparents?
The girl shakes her head.
It was just me and my mom and my dad.
I see. Well, you can stay here for as long as you need to. We won't make you leave, I promise.
Okay.
She studies us for a long time, biting her thumb. I imagine the blue glow that Silver must have seen around her.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. Now, what would the two of you say to dinner? I imagine Miho must be getting hungry.
Yeah, I am.
I'm still hungry too.
Even after that cereal you ate?
She nods.
There wasn't that much left.
We can certainly take care of that. Come along. Let's see what we have in the kitchen.
The three of us go downstairs to the kitchen together, where Juliet sets about preparing a meal. Although she's still quiet, Lyra participates in the conversation a bit more, giving her opinion on things like certain foods or things she likes to do. After we're done eating, it's not long until she trapezes off to bed, murmuring a groggy goodnight as she goes. Later, before I turn in for the night myself, I poke my head into my room to check on her. She's fast asleep, mouth open with a line of drool dribbling onto her pillow. The blankets are pulled up beneath her chin, and pillows are scattered around the bed. The blankets are pulled up around her. The blankets are pulled up beneath her chin, and the pillows are scattered around the bed. I smile to myself because I know how she must feel. Warm, safe, and hopeful. Judging by the knock at my window, it turns out Silver and I have different ideas of early. I'll roll over in bed, not sure that I'm not dreaming, and tend to see Silver gesture at me and then leap for the tree again. A few minutes later, and a lot of eye rubbing later, I'm ready and outside to meet her. On my way out the door, I explain to Juliet where I'm going. Silver carries a small sack with her, which I assume contains all her belongings. It's tied shut with a small rope, and she slings it over her shoulder. We don't exchange any words of greeting. Instead, we just start walking. As frustrating as it can be half the time, sometimes I also appreciate her willingness to just end a conversation, not even start one. I don't have to worry about being a good enough conversationalist for her. It's easier to get more out of her. It's easier to get more out of her silence than it is many others. The fact that she let me come along on this last trip, much less came to get me, says a lot. We make our way through the streets, not seeing many other pedestrians or even cars. Only a handful of city buses, a couple of them roam around empty too. Silver walks faster than either Aspen or Juliet, but I'm able to keep pace easily. It makes our journey pretty short though. The glass walls and security gates to the skyport come into view, waiting for us. It was the first place to greet us when we arrived, and now it's ready to see her off again. I wonder what Silver's thinking about right now. Is she feeling sad at all and prepared to miss this place? Or is she ready to leave and potentially never returning? Good or bad, I don't think good or bad, I don't think she'll ever be able to forget her time in Wellington. We come to a stop just a few meters away from the entrance, facing the double glass doors. Our reflections stare back at us.
Call me Unbi.
Unbi?
And Korean Un for silver, B for rain, silver rain. Although she doesn't turn to me, I can see her face turn red in the glass. Oh, she's adorable.
Yes, it's the name I've settled on. What do you think?
I hope she sees me grin.
I think it's perfect.
Good. Thank you.
Aww.
I'm not sure what words to say. I've never said goodbye before.
It's okay. I never know either. I hope you'll come back someday. Or that we'll see each other again somewhere else.
Fate brought us together once. Perhaps it'll do so again.
So you think it was fate after all, huh?
Perhaps not.
She looks down at her wrist, surely thinking about her bead even though it's hidden.
If not fate, then shall we make a promise that neither of us can keep?
You haven't broken a promise to me yet.
We'll meet someday then. Perhaps you won't even recognize me. I might be someone else entirely.
Someday. I'm sure that I'll recognize you, though. You might change, but you'll still be you, no matter what.
Even if I'm Unbi now.
You've been Unbi the whole time.
Like always, I can tell she's about to leave. before she can, there's something I have to ask. I may not get another chance.
At first, you didn't want me to call you Silver. With your magic, what does a silver aura mean?
Her eyes meet in the glass. Finally, she closes her eyes with a small smile.
Shame. Goodbye, Miho.
Goodbye, MB.
It takes her a couple steps to reach the door. They slide open silently, dissolving her reflections. MB doesn't look back as she strolls through, letting them shut behind her once again. I'm left looking at myself and only myself. Finally, I turn around and start making my way back home.
I'm hungry.
You're always hungry.
So?
Fair enough.
Lara finds me in the library, almost the moment I'm done cleaning up, and I follow her to the kitchen. She takes a seat at the table expectantly, while I go to the fridge and panic to see what we have. It's the part of the evening where it would make more sense to have dinner instead of a snack. Juliet's upstairs and would probably come prepare something if we asked her to. But
I'll cook us something.
that decision is probably meaningless to Lyra, who just nods indifferently from the table. But it'll be a first for me. I've watched Juliet make food enough times that it should be able to pull something off. I should be able to pull off something simple, like when I cooked breakfast for myself a while ago. As long as I pay attention to what I'm doing, it can't be too hard. I hope. I get a box of pasta, a jar of sauce, an onion, and a pack of meat.
This should be everything I need.
First I fill up a pot of water and put it on the stove to start boiling. Then I grab a cutting board and a knife and get the onion ready. It rolls around a lot and my cuts come out all crooked, but I eventually manage to slice it. Very carefully I chop them into even smaller bits.
You're getting onion on the ceiling.
I look up. She's right. A couple chunks are stuck to where they flew from my knife. Maybe I was moving the knife a little too fast.
It'll fall off eventually.
Gross. I dump the onions into another pan and turn on the heat. I dump the onions into the pan and turn on the heat, and also grab some butter from the fridge. I'm not sure how much to use, so I decide to play it safe and use half a stick. All stick seems like it would be too much. It takes a while, but the butter melts and the onion starts to sizzle, and soon the whole kitchen smells pretty good. I also dump the noodles into the water, which is boiling by now. I set a timer like the box instructs. I'm not sure how to tell when the onions are ready, so I'm just letting them cook until I get bored of waiting, and I dump the meat in with them. It also sizzles loudly when it hits the pan, and I hurry to spread it around with the spatula. As I'm cooking that, Juliet enters the kitchen.
My, something smells delicious.
Hey, I'm cooking dinner! I think.
Juliet beams with delight.
It looks like everything is coming along wonderfully. I can't wait to try it.
Me too. I'm still hungry, you know.
Yeah.
Having the two of them both watching and waiting adds some pressure to the situation. I use the back of my hand to wipe the sweat from my forehead. Standing over the hot stove gets uncomfortable fast. My timer for the noodles goes off while I'm still cooking the meat. Part of it is getting dark, brown and crispy, while other parts are still pink, so I keep mixing it around. A few of the onions are starting to burn too, so I pluck those out and toss them in the trash as I notice them. I leave the pan to its fate while I pick up the pasta pot and carefully tip the water into the sink. Steam rushes onto my face and I have to lean back to let it run out. Only a handful of the noodles fall into the sink, which I'm willing to consider a success. I cross my fingers and hope that the meat is done. I can't see any of the parts look raw at least. Grabbing the jar of sauce, I unscrew the lid and dump it all into the pan before mixing that around. Combined with the red sauce, the burnt onion, and the crunchy meat, it doesn't really stand out too much. I hope that's true for the taste too. Flicking off the stove, I turn to face my audience.
It's ready.
Finally. I thought it was gonna take all day.
Lara's not impressed, of course, but Juliet claps.
It looks great. Thank you for cooking, Miho.
Don't thank me yet. But since you cook for us all the time, I figured I could at least give it a try.
I retrieve 3 bowls and dump some noodles into each one, followed by a big spoonful of sauce, just like Juliet does. I carry them to the table and set them in front of each person.
Alright, here you go.
Lara wastes no time in digging in, instantly staining her mouth red with sauce. Juliet waits for me to sit down, her fork covering of the bowl. I examine the finished dish that I made. It's not pretty, but it doesn't look wrong at least, and it does smell pretty good. I take a tentative bite.
It's not bad.
It's not the best thing I've ever eaten, and it's far from the worst, but it's far from the worst. At the very least, it tastes pretty close to what I expected it would taste like. Juliet blows on hers to cool it down before taking a bite herself. As she swallows, her eyes grow wide with awe.
It's delicious.
Cool! I'm glad it turned out okay.
Girl, can you not taste anything?
No, Miho, I mean it. It's delicious.
What do you... Oh! You can taste it?
Juliet nods, taking another bite without bothering to wait this time. She chews slowly, closing her eyes to savor it. When she opens them, I see a tear sparkling in the corners.
The richness of the tomatoes, the saltiness of the meat. It's the best thing I've had in decades, even over a century.
It's not that good. It's fine though. Next time you should add some salami. That's my favorite.
Mediocre or not, Lyra finishes her bowl in record speed, then gets up to serve herself one.
That's amazing! I wonder why. I didn't do anything that special to it.
The power of love clearly overpowers whatever physical shit to happen to Juliet when she turned.
I'm not sure either, but I certainly can't complain.
Juliet also gets seconds, and then even thirds. There's only enough for me to have one bowl, but that's fine by me. Seeing the joy on Juliet's face is more rewarding than an extra full belly. Using the edge of her fork and a spoon, she manages to scrape up every last drop. Her dish is so spotless that it looks like it could go right back into the cabinet.
Guess this means I gotta start cooking more often, huh?
Juliet laughs and nods.
I'd like that very, very much.
After months of practicing, the day of the play finally arrives. We've already seen this scene, and unlike the Gerby thing, I think I'm good enough to skip it. In short, our girl finally gets her man, and thank God, I was rooting for them from day one. This is honestly what we've seen before. The moon sits high in the sky as Juliet and I make our way through the quiet streets hand in hand. With Lyra fast asleep at home, this is the first time we spent together, just the two of us, since we got back from the edge of the world. We catch a shuttle to the nature preserve from the same place I boarded it the last time, and just look over shuttle, and just like our shuttle to the edge, it's almost devoid of other passengers. The preserve is open at all hours to give nocturnal fabled like Juliet the opportunity to come visit, but I don't expect it to be nearly as busy as when we went here. It's when I went there. Sure enough, we're practically alone when we enter, having the whole area to ourselves.
It's just as beautiful as I remember.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
We meander through the lush, sprawling forest before ending up back near the calm river. Julia and I point out nesting birds and skittering lizards as we see them. It's a much different atmosphere than when we were here in the daytime, but not in a bad way, just quieter and more relaxed.
I'm glad we can go out like this. It's been a while, huh?
Yes, it has. It's been hectic having another mouth to feed and look after.
For sure. I don't really mind it though.
Nor do I.
God, all that shit. My shitty sleep schedule's catching up to me. We come to a stop near the water, not too far from the covered sitting area. I can see my reflection staring back at me, but it looks like I'm alone. Although she's right beside me. Julia has no reflection to speak of like usual. Like her ability to taste some food. I wonder if that'll come back someday.
It's been fun having Lyra around, even though it's only been a couple days. I like being able to help her out.
I know she's appreciative of it too, even if she has trouble expressing that sometimes.
Yeah, I don't blame her for that. I know what it's like.
Whether it's cooking her dinner or setting up the TV or just checking on her at night, Lyra's presence has given me a sense of purpose that I didn't really have before. She's shown that she's capable of taking care of herself, but she's still choosing to rely on Juliet and me, still thinking of that hopeful blue glow that Unbi described. If Unbi had seen back then, if Unbi had seen me back when I first came to the library, I probably would have had the same colour surrounding me. Tonight, Lyra went to bed without needing any reassurance that her time at the library is limited, and that she even complicated the meal that Juliet prepared for dinner. Tonight, Lyra went to bed without needing any reassurance that her time at the library is limited, and she even complimented the meal that Juliet prepared for dinner. Just like I did, she settled into a routine.
What are we gonna do about her?
I asked quietly. Juliet doesn't answer at first. I know she heard me. She's probably thinking about it too. The answer seems obvious, of course, but also huge, life-changing, for more than one life.
I want her to stay. I know what that means. At least, I kind of do. You would know better than me, since you've been through it before. But I don't want to tell her she has to leave someday. Not when I know she doesn't have anywhere else to go. I don't know what usually happens to kids without a family. But if I was her, I wouldn't trust some stranger who told me what I had to do, where I have to live. And one thing I do know is how hard it is to be alone in the world, with no one you can talk to or trust. I don't want anyone to feel that way. Not if I can help it.
I rest my head on Juliet's shoulder and she puts her arm around me. The sheer amount of responsibility that I'm suggesting we take on is overwhelming. I don't know anything about taking care of a child. I don't even know how to properly take care of myself until recently. There's so much that I'm only vaguely aware of. School, clothes, chores. Never had a childhood or grew up in a normal sense of the word. But none of that matters. What's important is that Lyra's here and that her future is in her hands. Everything I've learned since coming to Wellington, all the ways I have grown, they all point towards this being the right decision. Beside me, I feel Juliet slowly nod.
In the end, it's not our choice to make. What's most important is what she wants. It's a cruel fate that dealt her this hand in the first place. Someone so young shouldn't have to make such a huge decision, but we can only play with the cards we're given. If being with us is what Lyra wants, then I would be happy to oblige. The road will be long and difficult. There will be tears and frustrations on both sides, I'm sure. And I'm sure it will take some time before she can fully trust and accept us, as it should. But I know there will also be smiles and joy. Little things and big things that make the difficulties worth enduring. If that's something that she's prepared for, as much as she can be, and that you're prepared for too, Miho, then I want her to stay as well.
I lift my head to look around. All around us are the reminders of many lives, big and small, from the chirping crickets and croaking frogs to other park visitors who pass us by. All of them, all of us, exist together here, under the same moon, breathing the same air. I used to take these connections for granted, just like I did my everyday existence. It's not just what I've gained since then, but also what I've lost, that makes me pause and silently reflect. Zhongyan, my person, who never ever forgot me. Aspen and Juliet, who opened up their hearts and lives to accept me. Even Unbi, who eventually came to trust me. They all made me who I am. I'm fortunate to have had them in my life. Can I be that for someone else? Can I help someone grow the same way? The only thing that all those people have in common is that they all took a chance on me, and I took a chance on them. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that all the best things in life come with risk and uncertainty. This decision, as big as it may be, isn't any different. Trying to look into Juliet's eyes, I nod.
Yeah, I'm prepared.
Her gentle warmth engulfs me as her arms fill me into an embrace.
Then we'll speak with her tomorrow.
See, called it. Juliet and I end up getting home pretty late from the nature preserve, and so the next morning, I chose to sleep in a bit longer than usual. When I finally climb out of bed, I go to check on Lyra. Although her bed is messy and unmade, she's nowhere to be seen. She must have already gotten up and gone downstairs. Yawning, I make my way down to the kitchen, expecting to see her and Juliet, but when I see who's waiting there instead, I blink with surprise.
Aspen!
Ah, Miho, good morning.
It's been forever since you've been here.
It's only been a few weeks.
Like I said, forever.
It does feel that way, I admit. Sorry I haven't been able to chat much lately.
It's fine. I know you're busy.
Although Aspen and I still check in every morning, just so she doesn't forget me. We never talk for long. In fact, most of our conversations are pretty much just saying hello and then almost immediately saying goodbye. I've never even gotten the chance to tell her about everything that's been happening these past few days.
Have you been?
Oh, same as ever. These past couple weeks I've been working hard on some edits to my manuscript that a publisher requested. It's been tough, but I can finally see the light at the end of the tunnel.
That's great! So they're gonna publish your book?
It's still too early to say, but
You guys smell.
I'm optimistic at least. What about you? I expected Juliet to be around by now, but I haven't seen her.
She might be asleep. We were out kind of late last night.
Oh! I take it that means things are going better between you two then.
Yeah, your advice helped a lot. Things have been really good, actually.
I'm so glad to hear it.
The whole time we're talking, Aspen is also turning away, is also turning this way and that in her chair, like she's searching for something.
What are you looking for?
I don't know what happened to my pen. I swear I just had it with me, but now I can't find it.
Maybe you dropped it on the floor?
Maybe. It's not a big deal, though. I have extras.
The purse is dangling from her chair and she pulls it onto her lap to dig around. When she does, she frowns.
What now?
My notebook is missing too. There's no way that fell out on its own.
Oh shit. Aspen stands up, pacing back and forth between her seat and the entrance to the kitchen, hurrying down the room towards the front door. While she's out of her seat, I watch her hand mirror float over her bag and disappear around the corner. I have to bite my lip to keep from laughing as I realize what's going on. Looking frustrated, Aspen returns and sits back down.
How odd.
Taking a peer into her purse again, Aspen suddenly looks up and glares at me.
Did you do this?
Do what?
My mirror. I'm certain it was just here. I just saw it and set it aside.
I didn't touch it. I swear.
Then who did?
It's another to watch Aspen get flustered. I don't want her to get genuinely upset. I look over in the direction where I saw her mirror vanish.
Alright, Lyra. That's enough.
Lyra suddenly pops into view right next to me. Instead of where she disappeared, she has a notebook and a pen in one hand and the mirror in her neck, and the mirror in her other.
Why'd you ruin it? I was gonna get her whole bag next.
Across from me, Aspen stares in shock, her mouth moving but unable to form actual sentences.
Wait. Who? Huh?
Aspen, meet Lyra. Lyra, meet Aspen. She's not a wolf. Don't worry.
Lyra rolls her eyes at me.
Duh, I can tell.
After blinking a few times, Aspen manages to get herself somewhat under control.
It's nice to meet you, Lyra.
From the way she stares at me even while talking to the kid, I can tell Aspen wants an explanation.
Do you live here too?
I don't. Why do you ask?
You act like it.
I can't help but snort with laughter. Aspen, meanwhile, seems like she can't tell if she should be offended or not. Having had my fun, I just say to help her out.
Lyra's staying at the library for a while. We met her a couple days ago.
I see. Juliet sure does love her strays. Lyra, may I please have my things back?
Fine.
Stomping over to where Aspen's sitting, Lyra returns her belongings.
So you're able to use magic too, I see.
Uh-huh. Can you?
Unfortunately not. I wish I could.
Just to show off, Lyra disappears again, and Aspen instinctively clutches her purse tightly.
How long are you able to stay invisible?
Reappearing, Lyra shrugs.
I have to hold my breath.
Oh, that explains it.
I thought she always puffed at her cheeks for dramatic effect, but it's part of her magic. Then that makes more sense. Looking smug, Lyra sits down at the empty seat at the table.
When's breakfast?
Dunno. Juliet's still asleep. I can start making us something, though.
I can wait. Juliet's cooking is better.
But shit. This time, it's Aspen who tries to stay full of laugh.
She doesn't mince words, does she?
At least she's honest, I guess. I'm gonna cook anyway. Even I can't mess up eggs and toast that much.
I conveniently chose to leave out the results from last time I made them. I have more experience now, so it should go better. Once again, Juliet turns up when I'm halfway through cooking.
Good morning, everyone. My, what a crowded kitchen we have today.
Morning! The food will be ready soon.
This time I keep a close eye on the eggs to make sure they don't overcook, on the toast to make sure it cooks enough. While I do that, Juliet goes and retrieves another chair from somewhere, so that we all have a place to sit. When everything looks right, I dish it up and serve it. Aspen and Lyra eat without any complaints, which I take to mean is good enough, but it's Juliet's reaction that I'm curious about. Watch intently as she prepares a careful bite, chewing thoroughly, then her face lights up.
It tastes wonderful.
Awesome!
I'd happily cook every morning if it made her smell like that every time. When breakfast is over, Juliet stands up to get everyone's attention.
Aspen, Miho, I was wondering if I might be able to enlist your help for the day. Since the library is closed for the weekend, I thought it might be a good opportunity to give this place a thorough cleaning. It's been ages since it's had a good dusting, and some of the spare rooms could stand to be emptied out.
Sure, I don't mind. I could certainly use the exercise.
Yeah, of course I'll help.
Thank you.
What about me? I can help too.
Well,
She and I look at each other, and then I give a tiny nod. We didn't plan out how to have this conversation with Lyra, but now seems like a good a time as any. Aspen must notice our silent exchange because she stands up.
I'll go straighten up the books first, before we start on the rest of the house. Just give me a call if you need me.
we will. Thank you.
Once Aspen leaves, Juliet takes a seat, scooting her chair closer to Lyra and me. From the way the kid starts to fidget, I get the impression that we're making her nervous.
Lyra, there was something that Miho and I wanted to ask you. Something very important.
Do you want to live here with us?
I decided to just cut to the chase rather than stretching out the amount of time that Lyra has to worry about what we're going to say. She stops fidgeting immediately, looking confused.
What do you mean? I already do.
Yes, but In a permanent sense. Not just for a few nights, but...
This would be your home.
Oh,
For a bit, none of us talk. Under the table, I seek out Juliet's hand, and I'm surprised to find that it's shaking. Lyra chews her lips, bites her thumb, staring at the floor.
Of course, if you don't want to, then we fully understand. Both of us will do everything we can to help you find somewhere that you do want to be.
Yeah. We won't make you go back to the people you ran away from or anything like that.
Even though we've already promised her that, I feel like it bears repeating.
if I do, then what would we be?
In what sense?
Like...
She struggles to find the words to phrase her question, but I think I know what she means. It's kind of like when Juliet and I began a relationship and I didn't know what to call it.
We'd be family.
God's sake. Finally, Lyra looks up at both of us. I squeeze Juliet's hand and she squeezes back, still shaky.
Okay. I like that.
Give her the tension drain out of Juliet's hand as she relaxes, laughing with relief. Even as my heart pounds, I can feel myself burning too. And across from us, for the first time ever, I see Lyra's face light up with real, genuine smile. One that she doesn't bother to hide or to force away. I don't have to be Silver to see the hope that she feels right now. I felt it myself not so long ago. This time, I get to be the one to say the words that Juliet said to me back then.
In that case, welcome home.
Oh, it all comes full circle. It's so cute. My heart. Leaping to her feet, Lyra scurries over with her arms outstretched. Juliet and I both catch her in a hug. The three of us wrap our arms around each other. Somehow, out of the three of us, Lyra's the only one without any tears in her eyes.
You'll never have to be alone again.
Together, Lyra and I both nod. The three of us separate and Juliet laughs as she waves her face.
Well, shall we go give Aspen a hand?
Yeah.
We find Aspen up near the front, idly wiping down one of the display cases for a rag. She turns around to face us, and I see her sizing up all the details at once: our tears, Lyra's hand, and Juliet's, and her newfound smile. I can tell she understands.
Congratulations, all of you.
Aspen, Juliet, and I organize and scrub the downstairs area from top to bottom. Lyra runs back and forth between us, bringing cleaners and rags and whatever else someone asks for. Once we're finished, we move upstairs, skipping over my room and Juliet's study. I said we all stop at the storage room where I found the fish tank, the elemental, and where Juliet got my TV. She flicks on the light, illuminating boxes stuffed with toys and clothes and even a couple of books. All these used to be Cosette's things. They've just sat here untouched for years. I put her hand on her shoulder, while Lyra and Aspen wait uncertainly by the door. Juliet strolls through the room, peering into several boxes. Sometimes she retrieves a toy, like a plastic horse or a stuffed doll, and gazes at it fondly, but then puts it back. I follow her around and hesitantly, Lyra follows behind me. Aww. Juliet kneels down to match Lyra's eye level, gently reaching out to clasp her hands.
Lyra, feel free to keep anything here that strikes your fancy. We'll donate the rest to others who may want them.
Look at her, you taking more steps to move on.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm certain. Cosette wouldn't have wanted her treasures to sit in the dark and waste away unappreciated. I was only doing that for myself. No. What she would have wanted is for them to bring smiles and happiness to others. Like they brought to her. Passing them down is the best way I can honor her memory.
I'll take good care of them. Promise.
Juliet pats her on the head.
I know you will.
It takes all day, but together we manage to comb through everything in the room. Aspen sweeps and dusts while the rest of us sort out all our belongings. In the end, Lara only picks a few toys and clothes for herself. The rest are packed neatly into boxes that Juliet and I haul downstairs to be picked up by a charity group later. We go room by room, cleaning up until we reach the last one, Lyra's room. All of us help her carry her chosen toys in, setting them up on a shelf or in a toy box. Aspen and Juliet swap out the bed sheets and the curtains and take care of all the dust. We also rearrange the furniture just to give it a new look. There are a few things Juliet takes with her too, photographs and a journal and other personal belongings. She takes those into her study, giving them a place of honor by her desk, where they'll never be out of her sight. But also where they're surrounded by the records and lives of others who came before, people who might have known her. Juliet puts a smiling, framed picture of Cosette on the shelf, facing towards the door. In the photo, Cosette is laughing and winking, even as she walks away from the camera. I have to say, she looks right at home too.
Whew, I'm beat.
I flopped out on the bed, spreading my arms out. It's not my own bed for once, but Juliet's.
You worked very hard today. You deserve to be exhausted.
Not as hard as you. You carried most of those boxes.
We both put in a lot of effort.
She lays down next to me. Without a window, it's darker in Juliet's room than it is in mine. I can count on one hand the number of times I've been in here. I let out a yawn. Aspen went home hours ago, and Lyra went to bed not long after. It'll be my turn soon.
You should get some rest, dear.
I will. First, I have to get the energy to go back to my room.
Do you?
What do you mean?
There's certainly room for two here.
Aww. Relying onto my side to face her, I laugh.
Yeah, I guess so. You must be worn out too. You stayed up all day, didn't you?
Yes. I wanted to spend it with the three of you.
I'm glad.
I yawn again, and this time it's Juliet who laughs.
Sleep, my love. I'll see you in the morning.
She doesn't have to tell me twice. Not even bothering to fight my heavy eyes when closing, I just nod.
Good night.
This game's so cute. Alright, I'm already streamed longer than I usually would, but I kind of want to. I want to get to the end of this tonight. So I'm gonna go refill my water. I'll be right back. Which one of these is mine? Just one. Yeah, I'm back. Just checking some stuff. Just checking my grades from college. I passed all my shit. Just fine, it would seem. Because everything's been marked. Where were we? The sky collapses into the ocean, splashing around with 1,000 shades of blue. Clouds drift through the water and fish swim through the sky. I'm alone, but I'm not alone. Although there's no one at my side, I can feel the warm presence of my loved ones on my heart. With each step I take, sky water ripples in every direction. The expanse goes on forever, above, below, and around me. I look down at my hands and feet and I'm a reflection beneath me. Yellow eyes framed with dark fur look back, the fox's paws moving in time with my footsteps. She's me and I'm her. I know this, so why are we separated like this? Together we moved forward, though it's impossible to see what's beyond the horizon, just more and more blue. Then, far ahead, something floating along in the current catches my eye, and I run to it. It's a piece of paper, rolled up tightly. Something stirs in my soul. It's one of the people I hold dear. Their smells and recognition. Gently I unfurl the scroll, but as soon as I do, the words written there melt away, pouring off the page and into the water at my feet. I look down to see the ink pooling beneath me, between my feet and the fox's paws. I take a deep breath and then kneel down. My hands hover just inches from the surface. A single paw waits on the other side as the fox's eyes look into mine. Mustering all my courage, I plunge my hand down into the swirling ink and rippling water, reaching for my other self. With a gasp, I bolt upright in bed, breathing heavily. My palms and neck are slick with sweat. My heart races like I just ran a marathon. Daylight blinds me, and I hold up one arm to shield myself from it, but it doesn't help. As I become aware of other sensations, like the unfamiliar bed, and the warmth of someone beside me, I remember where I am, Juliet's room, not my own. Usually my dreams fall away as soon as I wake up, but the one I just had remains vivid in my mind. That endless blue lingering on my thoughts, a crystal clear memory.
Miho?
I can hear Juliet sit up on the other side of the bed, still partially hidden in the shadow. As I blink it to get my bearings, I realize that it's not daylight that's blinding me. It's my bead. As bright as a full moon, it rests against my chest, and in its glow I can see a third person illuminated between Juliet and me. Lyra is fast asleep, somehow unbothered. She's flat on her chest, her hands clutching the blanket. I cut my hands and lift them to cover my bead, although light still pours out from between my fingers. The moment my palms brush against it, a shiver runs down my spine. The ocean from my dreams filled my thoughts, even as I'm aware of what's around me. As the feeling dissipates, I'm left with a sensation of total calmness. My eyes aren't bothered by the light. I don't feel hot under the blankets, and with Lyra pressed against me, the dampness of my hair is gone. I look over and see Juliet in the darkness. Although sleepiness still tugs at her eyes, I can tell she's wide awake now. With one hand, I remove my necklace. One by one, I slide off the other beads until I get to the one that matters. I let it fall into my hand. The only sensation I'm aware of is it resting there. Tiny cracks cover it all over. I close my fingers around it, hiding some more of its glow. Sensing Juliet rather than seeing her, I whisper into the darkness.
It's time.
Let's go. I stand up and feel the bed shake as Juliet stands up as well. We go out into the hallway together, carefully shutting the door behind us. From the hallway window, I can see it's still early morning, just around sunrise. And I uncurl my fingers again, letting the brilliant light illuminate the hallway. Juliet and I both look at it, and then she meets my eyes. Strangely, I don't feel any nervousness.
Let's go down to the beach.
The ocean here isn't quite the same as the one in my mind. It's rougher and dotted with boats. The shouts of fishermen handling the morning's catch drift over the boardwalk. The noisy drone of a landing ship buzzes over them. Juliet and I stand just out of reach of the tide, not far from where I first confessed my feelings to her. Her parasol blocks the early morning sun as we face each other. Out here, the light from my bead isn't so pronounced. It hasn't gotten any dimmer though. A noisy awareness hums in the back of my mind like a radio not quite tuned to a station. It's impatient. I'm impatient. I look eyes with Juliet. Neither of us say anything. Neither of us need to. She just nods, encouraging me. I run towards the sea. Slowly, I bring the bead to my lips. As it gets closer, the humming in my head gets louder, and the ocean in my mind feels like it might break free into reality. Then, the moment the bead touches my tongue, it melts away like candy, and the humming sound stops. The ocean recedes. Closing my eyes, I feel the magic spread throughout my body. It's like a wind inside of me. It's like a wind inside me that I inhale, filling my lungs. Not just my lungs, my heart, my mind, and everything else. That breeze ripples across my skin from the inside. Placing my fingers and curling my toes, it moves to every part of me. This magic I was born to inherit. It drifts across my memories, making the colour more vivid and filling in details I'd forgotten. The springtime green of the trees in the forest, the agony of my injured leg, the bitter cold of being caught in a storm, the softness of my first night in my own bed. I do feel my body change as my tail splits into 9, unfurling behind me like Juliet's parasol. I understand Umbi's words now, when she teased me for not figuring it out. Swallowing my bead hasn't made me into a different person. What it wanted was only ever what I wanted. The pain of loss and the comfort of love. Happiness. I've experienced these and so many other things for myself already. My bead hasn't ever known anything that I don't know. It's only been an extension of me. And what I know is that I haven't reached the end of my journey, just another step on it. I have to strive for those things that I want. To be happy, to be loved. They aren't destinations either, they're pathways themselves that I have to strive to follow, to stay on. Chiono, Sky Fox. Before me the sky and sea appear to stretch out forever, meeting at the edge of existence. Though separate, they match each other in their vastness. Both are as hopeful as blue. Both are as hopeful a blue as I've ever seen.
Miho.
Show me the baby. Juliet says my name like a statement, not a question, confirming that I'm still here in front of her. She's got little wings. I'm still me.
Juliet.
Still, it seems fitting that my first words and as the new me should be her name.
How do you feel?
I take a moment to assess that. Being a fox feels different from being in my other farm, but this feels like a mixture of both. The scent of the ocean, fish and salt and more is strong on my nose. Among the chaotic noise of the fishermen and other city bustle, I'm able to pick out an individual voice and focus on individual sounds. Each grain of sand on the beach stands out, so numerous that if I look at them too long, my eyes start to hurt. In the same way, I can notice each thread of Juliet's shirt, each splinter on the nearby boardwalk, each bubble on the rising tide.
Different, but the same. I can notice more of everything around me, but I don't feel that different on the inside. I'm still just Miho.
Good. I would hope for nothing else.
I take a few steps, getting used to the feeling of having more tails, although they're heavier. Although they're heavier, moving them comes as naturally as moving just one did. They found it behind me. Oh, she doesn't have wings, she's got 9 tails. 6? Those are 6 tails. They found it behind me, the only evidence of the change I just underwent. That and the missing necklace around my throat.
Do I seem any different to you?
Not at a glance. Is it what you'd expected?
I don't know if I was expecting anything in particular. I said that to Inbi, and she just laughed at me. But I get it now. My bead didn't change me. I've changed myself. I think maybe that's why Inbi isn't quite ready yet. But I'm sure she will be soon. I think she's on the right track now.
Juliet gazes at me with admiration in her eyes. There was a time where that would be kind of embarrassing, because I didn't know what she was seeing in me. Now, having made peace with who I am, I feel like I can stand a little taller.
Do you remember what you said once, back when we first met? I believe it was one of the first times we had breakfast together. You said that you wanted to learn how to be a person.
I'd say I accomplished that.
As would I. But you helped me do the same. Unbi as well. And I'm sure there's much that Lyra will learn from you in time. Unbi was right in that regard. The capacity to change. Not just yourself, but the others in your life has always been within you.
Yeah. I guess my bead was just trying to show me that all along. Now that it's gone, I wonder if it means people will be able to remember me normally. If not...
Then it'll just be another trial, another goal to work towards, another challenge to overcome. Somehow the thought of that isn't so scary anymore. Because I know that I can rely on myself, and on my loved ones, and that things will turn out okay. I smile.
If not, then I'll keep trying to find a way. I'm pretty good at that after all.
Somehow you always do.
Sun's getting higher and Juliet repositions her parasol to block it. It feels luxuriously warm on my tails, but I know Juliet can't be comfortable.
You should go back to the library without me. I'll be home soon, but I want to walk around a bit first.
All right. It's probably best if Lyra doesn't wake up to an empty house. I'll see you again soon then.
Before she goes, we embrace each other for another kiss. Her lips feel even softer than usual, and her hand as it holds mine for a moment is gentler. We step apart, sharing a smile, and I wave goodbye as Juliet starts making her way back home. I head to the skyport myself. It's busy when I get there. The airship that I heard to land not too long ago has let its passengers off, and they flew through the security light and into the freedom of the city. I stop outside the doors, where I said goodbye to Wimby, although I don't plan to go inside. Instead, I turn around and start walking towards town, following a zigzag path that takes me along roads and alleyways. It's been months since I arrived, but I can still remember every twist and turn that I took as I ran from the security guard. Some of those streets I've walked down several times since, and some of them I've only passed through that time. The welcoming colours of Cuba Street guide me towards the heart of Wellington. Along the way I pass by the Bell House, pausing outside of it. It's early enough that the inside is still dark, except for a couple of lights in the kitchen. Even Juliet isn't here that early. Isn't here this early. In the glass window I can see my own reflection. Half expect to find a fox staring back at me, but not this time. Like I said to Juliet, I'm still just Miho. From the Bell House doors, I make a sharp turn and go back the way I came from. On my way to Mount Victoria, I pass by the road to the library. It doesn't go down it, of course. I'm not quite ready to go home yet. But I'm sure Juliet is waiting for me there. And Lyra too, if she's awake. I wonder what she'll have to say about my new tails. I keep on walking and soon the rising green slopes of Mount Victoria come into view. Climbing up the mountain is pretty much automatic, since I can remember every curve and incline on the trail before it happens. Although I pass a few people who are also on their way up, and also some people heading down from the top, I'm all alone when I reach the summit. just for a moment I know, but a moment is enough. From up here, the skyport doesn't look very big, and the path I just took doesn't seem very far. Yet in sense, it took me months to walk it. I'm sure I'll come up here many more times in the future. There are so many places I want to go and things I want to see, but I know that I'll never get tired of this view. The people and places I care about are all within my reach. For me, everything comes back to this spot. When I stood up here for the first time, I couldn't have known the journey I couldn't have known the journey that was about to begin for me. That's why I can't help but feel excited as I gaze out at the city I've come to love. So many things are changing, but for once, that isn't scary. The future is uncertain, but that just means it's full of opportunities and potential. I'm done with letting life just happen to me. From now on, I intend to make it what I want. A sudden gust sweeps across the mountain, down through the forest and out towards the sea. It ripples through my hair the same way it ripples through the trees. As the leaves rustle together in the breeze, it sounds like warm laughter. Little fox, where's your home? The wind whispers. Closing my eyes, I relax and surrender myself to it all.
Right here.
God's sake. It's not as much an emotional gut punch as the other games were, but it's still nice. As is tradition, we shall sit for the entire credit scene.
So I put a bookmark in this chapter of my life. To the pressed flower to remember you by. Getting older will mean that you're not on my mind. Together we'll be young till we die. With just word or two, the year runs so soon. Will you remember me if I remember you? Tomorrow's just another new today. I won't
Everything is already packed up and on its way down to the underworld. All that remained is us. After 100 years in the library, from Juliet and half a decade from Lyra and me, it only took a couple of days for everything we owned to be organized into boxes and sent ahead to our new home. Eventually, everything that we're keeping at least. It was just as much to give away toys and clothes Lyra had outgrown, furniture we didn't want to take, mementos that we left with our friends. The only part that's remained unchanged are the library shelves themselves. Aspen swore that she wouldn't take a single book off the shelves after taking over. The bedroom I shared with Juliet, Lyra's room, and Juliet's office were the last ones to be packed up. At first, it was jarring to see so much empty space, but over time, I started thinking about it that way. Rather than picturing what's not there anymore, I prefer to think of it as being ready to be reborn. Whatever this place becomes, I hope whoever is here after us loves it as much as we did.
Are you ready, dear?
As ready as I'll ever be.
For what may be the last time the two of us stand together in the library's foyer, hand in hand, we take a final look around. The greasy spots on the floor, the faintly musty smell of so many books, the curtains fluttering in the breeze, all of it is imprinted on my heart. I'll never forget it. This was the first home I'd ever had. Well, the second after the forest, but as far as I'm concerned, it's where my life began. We've made a lot of memories here. I know that we'll be missed, just as much as we'll miss it. Despite how long it's been, I'm still not entirely used to people remembering me, but I prefer that bittersweet feeling to the pain of being forgotten. Now it's time to say goodbye. Juliet clicks open the locket around her neck. On one side is a tiny picture of the four of us, Juliet, Lyra, Aspen, and me. Although it's just the three of us who are going, Aspen will always be part of our family. Even now she's at the skyport waiting to see us off. On the other, there's a photo of Cosette. She has the same wry look in that picture as in her portrait that once hung on the wall. Half smirk, half laugh. Her smile is immortalized forever. The tiny hands on the clock tick imperceptibly onwards.
What about you? Are you ready?
There are plenty of things that I'll miss. Sure, I haven't even thought of them all yet. After so long, I can scarcely believe that I'm leaving. And yet, I'm excited for what awaits us. Not just in our new home, but in our new lives. I feel the same way I did 5 years ago. We first fell in love. I can't wait to see what happens next.
We lean in at the same time, the same thought on both our minds. Even after another 100 years, I know that I won't get tired of kissing Juliet. The front door bangs open and we both look over to see Lyra standing there impatiently.
Come on! Do you want to keep Aspen waiting forever?
Juliet and I look at each other with a smile.
Forever's an awfully long time, you know.
Right. So we'd better get going.
And that's Juliet's spoiled ending. Well, shit. That's... I mean, there's two endings I haven't seen, but I'll probably go back and look at those in my own time. So that was Please Be Happy. We've officially done both characters' routes. I don't know what we're doing next, honestly. I think I'll take my my mandatory couple weeks break from visual novels, at least streaming them. But I don't know what's next. We've played for the entirety of Studio Land's catalog, and I officially have almost 27 hours on this game. I have like a collection of Yuri visual novels I can go for. Stuff like Blackberry Honey, The Fairy's Song, For Snow, which I started and haven't went back to. Kindred Spirits on the Roof, which is apparently really long. My Dear Prince. National Park Girls isn't technically Yuri, but it was made by the same people who made Highway Blossoms. I might play that next. It is voiced. I really want to. Problem is, most of them aren't voiced, which it's fine when I'm reading them myself in my personal time, but doing them on stream, I don't know. I feel silly doing the voices. It hurts my voice after a while. I tried it with First Snow, but I didn't really enjoy it. I'll see though. I've got technically all the time in the world. As for what's next, I've been promising another dev stream for weeks, but it turns out defining the entire story for Under the Eclipse is going to take a while. Mostly because it's hard. My brain gets very overwhelmed very easily, and it's very hard to motivate myself to even do it in the first place. So I'd say that another a dev stream next week, since I've got a week off of college, but I've got a big project to do in that time. So I don't know if I can promise anything, so I'm not going to. But a dev stream may be coming at some point. I would like to continue writing Under the Eclipse. It's nice to make progress on that. And I do really want to get it finished. And to share that journey with all you guys. It's quite exciting. But yeah. I'm not sure what else I'll stream. I might decide to do a test route of another visual novel. Honestly, I'm not sure. But until then, I'm probably gonna go lie in my bed and stare at the ceiling for a couple hours while I process that game, because that's usually what happens when I finish a visual novel I really like. I've got a bunch of emotions I gotta sort through. But yeah, that was Please Be Happy. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. God, I got this game when it came out, like an hour after it dropped, and then it's only just now that I finished it. When did it drop? Hold on. I'll probably go back and get the rest of the endings in my own time. I've won 100% of the game at least. When did this game drop? It was 21st of November. Is that 4? Or in 4 months? Yeah, it's been about 4 months. It took me to finish the game. Which I suppose is fair enough. I don't have anything to get up for tomorrow technically, but I've got a lot of work to get doing. We'll just have to see what next week is. Either it's going to be a dev stream, don't hold your breath for that, or it will be Tower Unite or something. I don't know, I'll see what I feel like. My entire philosophy with streaming is just do whatever I feel like, because I don't like being weighed down by promises and responsibilities. So, I'm gonna head off. Thanks for sticking with me for the game. Bye!